Ashley and Matt, tell me a little bit about yourself. There might be people watching who have no idea who you are. So tell me a little bit about like where you're at, a little bit of your backstory, and you can both talk.
Okay, I'll start. The backstory. Well, we're a Canadian couple. We have 4 kids. The last one is ours together. But it starts with my first marriage in Michigan in 2009. I married an American, and so I immigrated over here already once, and I got a green card through that marriage. I have 3 kids, and they're American citizens. And in 2015, I got a divorce, and I left, and I did what any other mother would do with 3 little kids. I went to live with my parents, 3 little kids, and they live in Canada. And so the distance between my house in America and their house in Canada, not far. We're on the border. Most people in the country don't realize how border relationships work. My sister was a Canadian. She married an American. Same instance, same thing, fairly common around here. And so anyways, I go to live with my parents, and the border agent takes away my green card. And at the time, I'm just young, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, I was living at my parents and going through a lot of struggles, so I didn't really care. And I hadn't become an American. I had lived here 6.5 years, so I could have, but I didn't because I never felt the need to. I was fine, a young mom of 3 little kids. Well, anyways, so we got a custody arrangement that said that I had to drive my kids one way. Like, so if they had to see their dad here in Michigan, I drove one way, he drove the other. Well, in 2020, when COVID hit, the border shut down. The kids did not see their father because they lived with me in Canada. They did not see their father for a really long time until we finally called the border. And we're like, listen, we can't cross the border, but is there any way we can do custody exchange at the border? They explained yes. It was extremely complicated and frustrating, but we did it for a while. Meanwhile, every time my kids came back to Canada, the government in Canada forced them to quarantine 2 weeks. They had no life. I was called every day by the government of Canada to make sure I was feeding my kids in their room. It was ridiculous. So in 2022, we called a lawyer and we're like, okay, we're done with this. It's 2 years of not being able to cross the border and this hellish with the kids. So we're gonna find a way to immigrate to America. We're gonna do this. So we sold our house, and the lawyer said the only option we had was an E2 visa, which was investing over $100,000 into
Wow.
which the only way we could do that, we're not rich, was to sell our house.
So wait a minute. $100,000 for the process to do that?
The investment.
You have to invest $100,000. Like, you have
into the economy. So whether it be buying equipment, buying a rental, buying property, trucks, whatever it is, invest into the economy for an American business.
Yes.
Wow.
So we did that. We sold our home, and Matt is a mason, and that's what he did in in Canada. That's what he did. He owned his own masonry company. He stone and brick houses. We did it out of our home in Canada. So we did that here. We bought a property big enough for all his equipment and such, trucks, and we brought all his equipment over, like $30,000 worth of equipment, and we invested, in his company and but we only had so much money. Like, there was only so much we could do. And so like we did invest the right amount, but
their issue was the way we invested it. So like initially we had bought in the house, but we didn't put it in the company's name. And then when we spoke to the lawyer, they said that shouldn't matter. You guys are the company. So whether it's owned directly by the company or by you guys shouldn't make a difference. Well, when that got sent in, they had an issue with it. So then we said, okay, we switched everything, put it in the company's name. And then they said, well, you would have to do that in the initial filing. We're not going to take anything into consideration that was changed after your first filing.
And they also came back and like, you can't prove you didn't get your money from illegal gains. And I'm like, we did prove we didn't get our money from illegal gains. We showed the sale of the house. We showed the profit we made. It was just as us, they were coming up with reasons to deny us, like.
So that would be the U.S. government. They were.
Yeah. California.
Yeah. So the U.S. government out of California, that's where these people are that you work. So it's not the state of California. It's U.S. government.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Oh, hold on. You still there?
Yep,
Yep.
we're here.
Oh, okay, you're still there. Just people are watching. I think people. So I think this. Did you have a storm move through your area? I'm in Saginaw County, and I think we had some bad weather coming this way. Maybe.
Yeah, we did. Saying maybe a little more, but
Okay.
no.
Anyway, so your situation that happened, and where are you at now, or how did it lead up to where you are now? We'll get back to the interview in just a minute, but I urge you to become a paid subscriber in my locals community to help fund my independent journalism. Click down below, down there in the description or the comments. Click the link. It's $5 a month. You can quit at any time. Locals, no censorship, no algorithm. Support my independent journalism. Let's get back to the interview.
Well, we've been here a year and a half. Basically, when we started this process, our lawyer's like, it's about 6 months. And so we okay, we got to save enough money for 6 months. We have to live here. And then in 6 months, they came back and they said they wanted more evidence of our investment. So we worked really hard. We got more evidence, like as much as I could possibly get. Like, we're not doing this illegally. We're literally legitimately investing in his business. We want to start the masonry company we had in Canada here. That's what we legitimately want. And they came back after that about 6 months. Like, was it 6 months after that? So yeah, it was about 6 months after that. They came back with the denial, and our lawyer's like, I can't believe they denied it with all the illegals coming in. I can't believe that this legitimate case was just denied. So he's like, we're gonna appeal it. And so we appealed it, and within 2 months we got back basically just no. And you have 33 days to leave the country. We're like, 33 days.
So what was sorry for interrupting. What was the visa that you were applying for to get? What was that again? What was it called?
It's called an E2 visa. It's just basically E2, yeah.
Okay.
E2.
Does that go for like a certain set amount of time, or how does that work?
You have to renew every 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's somewhat commonplace for people in the United States. That's not unusual, I'm assuming.
One of the more common ways to be able to live over here.
You obviously have.
Still doesn't give you any kind of an actual green card. That's just a work visa.
Yeah, you don't have any. All you have is a work visa.
See, our plan was to just continue renewing the visa until our oldest becomes 21. Then he can sponsor her.
Yeah, because he's American.
My stepson, he's American, right? So when he turns 21, he can sponsor her. So we're just going to keep renewing the visa and just run the business and live as normal until we could finally become.
Yeah, and then they could be close to their dad. Now they're close to their dad,
Grandparents, the rest of their family.
And our family in Canada isn't that far either, so it's like the perfect situation. We don't have to deal with the border anymore, but now we're being sent back. And if we don't get out, our lawyer said there's a grace period. They goes, oh yeah, they'll threaten you with the 33 days, but there's a grace period of 6 months, he said. But if you go over that, they'll ban you from the country for 3 to 10 years. And I'm like, I can't be banned. I have to be able to see my children if they're here and there's an emergency. So we're just.
That a lot of this doesn't make sense. So you are in the United States. You're both Canadian. You've had paperwork before to be in the United States, and that's expiring, or
From her.
The
way it worked, why we're here legally, is they extend our I-94 when we applied for the visa.
Okay.
You're allowed to stay here while it's being adjudicated. So while we're waiting for the process of them either to approve or deny, we're allowed to stay here legally.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they've given us the final denial and there's no real recourse for us to try to reappeal, well, we can reapply right from scratch, but the cost is it's too much. We just got done going through it all.
Yeah.
And
so the federal government said, you have to invest $100,000 in a business and so forth. And you have done that here in Michigan. You have three children who are United States citizens, but all of that apparently doesn't matter. They are still going to deport you basically back to Canada.
Yes.
We have the choice of just staying illegally, but it just goes against our moral ethic. And that's why we wanted to do it legally in the first place.
Right. And this last year and a half has been actually pretty hard because during the process, we can't go back to Canada. So I couldn't go back to Canada to see family. He couldn't go back to see family because while it's being processed, our I-94 that we crossed with has to stay Here. Like, so once you cross, you got that I-94. You have to stay
We
here.
bought all a property here. We moved everything here. Our whole life is here now. Well, if we go to Canada, like I had to miss my grandmother's funeral because if I would have went, they wouldn't have allowed me back in the country until our visa was either approved or denied.
Now, okay, and I may ask a stupid question, but I hope you have time. So Ashley, you were married to someone else, and you were in the United States with that person, right?
Yeah, I had a legal green card.
Okay, was he Canadian?
No, he's American.
Okay, and that's why you came here to Michigan.
Yes. That's
okay.
Why.
Okay, so you're married, then you get divorced, and is that when you may have already said this before, you moved back to Canada or no?
Yeah, well, yeah, I had to. I wasn't like moving back, but like, where do you go?
Exactly.
Three little kids. I didn't, have a great job at the time, so I just moved back with my parents, and then, eventually, like, I had run it through my mind a million times. Maybe I should try to find an apartment in Michigan, but then, I don't have my family's help.
When you got divorced, what happened legally at that time? Like, if anyone's in that situation, does that mean you end the citizenship? What happened was it because of the divorce?
I never became a citizen. I only had a green card. There's a difference. A green card is a permanent residency. And once you carry that permanent residency for a certain amount of time, then you can become a citizen.
Okay.
I never did. I never, when you get the green card, you're not foreseeing a divorce 6.5 years later after 3 kids. That's not foreseen. So I never really thought about. I did think about it, but like, I never did it. It's a process. And so I never became American. And I'm sure if I would have, that would have solved all of our problems because then I could have just moved back. But when I moved back to Canada, in the Michigan court, in our document, it says that I moved to Canada. They approved that. And they approved custody arrangement. But that doesn't seem to matter to anybody at the border. They don't care.
And then you met Matt when you were back in Canada?
Right. And we lived there, like that was 2015. So from 2015 to 2022, we lived in Canada. I had a home. I started a new life there, and the kids were regularly crossing the border to go see their dad. There was never a problem with the border before COVID. And then 2 years, absolute hell, being treated like a criminal when you're just trying to drive your kids to their dad's house.
So, like, do you have Michigan driver's licenses, or how does that work?
No, we haven't gotten anything changed yet because we haven't gotten our visa approved. We're just here on a visitor I-94 pass right now.
And when both of you came over here to live here, that's when Matt was saying, that's when you said, okay, you sold the house, you're going to invest the money. And that's when you started the process of doing everything, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry if I'm asking stupid questions, but I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but I mean, it has been complicated. It has been extremely complicated, hard, and just I'm sick and tired of how hard it is to do this when people are crossing so easily and just getting everything given to them.
Yeah, and like you said, so basically the United States government have denied your E2 visa, and possibly you could be deported back to Canada, and they actually told you, well, you could stay illegally, but you don't believe that would be the right thing to do.
Well, they never told us. We just know we can. Like, I could still run a business here. I don't have to be a resident here to be able to bill people and run a business.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that kind of lifestyle, and I don't want my son to have to live that kind of lifestyle.
And even Ashley, I don't know about Matt, you were going to become an American citizen eventually, you said.
Oh yeah, when my oldest is 21, he's 13 though, so it's it's a ways away. But when he's 21, I plan to get my citizenship. Absolutely.
That's the strange part. So you have 3 children that are American citizens. They were born in the United States. Right. So just because they're American citizens, that doesn't grant you some legal, I don't know, to be their caretaker in the United States or something. There's nothing in the law about that.
There's nothing. I think there is a valid reason. Like, you don't want just women coming over to America having a baby and saying, I get the reasons why that is the way it is, but you think they would have some sort of,
process where
process
you look
where
at
they
individual cases differently.
Yeah, it's an individual case. I lived here. I didn't just come to America to have babies. I had a green card when I had them. And why can't I get that green card back? I lived here 6.5 years legally, not a criminal, no criminal record, and I just don't understand why I can't get my green card back. Why why our investment isn't good enough,
Yeah, and the green card, and you said it before, they took literally took it at, they literally took your green card at the border from you.
Yes.
What was the reason at that time for taking it?
Well, I wasn't super aware of what the border agent was asking me. He's like, so, because I still held a Michigan, when I got my divorce, I was in the process of, I had my Michigan driver's, like I had everything in Michigan. And so I was still working in Michigan actually, and driving back and forth. And so one day I'm driving home to work, I think. And he's like, well, where do you live, Ashley? And I'm like, well, I'm staying with my parents in Canada. And he's like, well, your green card's no longer valid. We're going to have to take that. I'm like, okay.
Was that the American of the federal United States that took it?
Yeah, it was the American side that took it. Yeah.
Wow. So you don't, so really not a good reason, and they don't have to give you a reason in writing or anything, I guess, really. They
like made me sign up, papers and answer questions. And I'm just like, at that time, I'm 27 years old and I have 3 kids, and I'm just trying to like get through what I'm going through at that time. Yeah. It wasn't like in my head, oh my gosh, 7 years later, I'm going to try to move back because COVID, like you don't think of those things. And so when we were doing this, when we were looking at the E2 visa, we're like, well, that's, that's a big, that's a hard task to do, but we're going to do it because our kids, they're worth it. Like, because in Canada, like if your kid, like our oldest, he plays hockey. And when he played hockey, his stepmom was banned from Canada for something ridiculous. Like she had like petty theft when she was young or something like that. I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, no, yeah.
As what she did or anything, but it wasn't anything bad. But they banned her and she couldn't go to Canada to even see her stepson play hockey. And like, because of the 2 years of craziness, even my sister, who is American and Canadian, she had a hard time going back and forth. And my mom passed away in 2020. And it was like 3 weeks before the border shut down. My sister was at the funeral, and that's the last time I saw her for a year. And so she only 35 minutes away.
Were you able to be at the funeral? You were there?
I was still in Canada at that time. Yes.
Okay.
And
Matt, so when you came over, what was your legal, like, what did you have paperwork to allow you to be in the country then? You were just...
You're allowed 6 the visitor.
Okay.
The Canadian, right? So then we went to the lawyer and did all the paperwork to apply for the E2, which then extends my I-94. So that I get an answer. So if it takes 12 months, that gives me 12 months before my I-94 is going to be up.
Okay. Right. What did the lawyer say? Because I'm assuming it's someone immigration. They know how it works. Were they pretty confident that, yeah, this is it, this, you're doing the right thing, this is a good case? They assured you that everything was going to be okay, probably?
Well, they made it seem there's no issue. We'd have no problem. You check every box. You should have no problem getting approved for this.
Which is the whole reason we sold our house and did it.
Wow. And you probably have to provide like financial documents and all that sort of stuff.
They're arguing about like we bought a truck we had to go to Montana to pick it up. Well, we paid 2/3 of it out of the company account, but we didn't have enough money. So we transferred money from a Canadian account and sent that to the person. So it came from 2 different accounts. So they wouldn't allow that to be a part of the investment.
I'm like, really?
Yeah. So that knocked another $20,000 off the investment. And then they wouldn't take the house and the property as an investment because it was in our name. And then we switched it to the company's name. So then that took that off the investment. So they were looking for any reason, honestly, to try to deny us from.
Wow. And I asked before, but do they give an official like paragraph reason why they denied? What was their reason?
The reason those were the actual reasons. They said they wouldn't take into consideration the house because we switched it after our initial filing. So when we filed the very first time, anything we did after that, they wouldn't take into consideration. So even investments we made after, it's a continuously growing business. So we bought other things since then, like a trailer, like a 20-foot tow behind. stuff like that we bought for the company, they won't accept any of it as an investment because it was done after our first filing.
Wow. I'm going to put up your Give, Send, Go in a minute. Someone mentioned online, Mary. I think Mary Moylan, I believe. She might be a friend of yours or neighbors.
Bought the property off of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that up in a minute so people can help. But so every day there are thousands of people entering the United States illegally who are being given housing and so forth. And you have been trying to do it the legal way over the past several years. You've actually invested more than $100,000 to try to give back and be part of the United States. And now you're being told you may have to be deported when you're watching thousands a day coming in. That has to be hard.
Oh, it's difficult. That's why the big joke everyone sees, oh, you should just go to the southern border. It's not even funny. After a while you hear it, it's like there's a reason we try doing it the legal. We're Christians. I know like it's not always everybody's favorite thing, but I have to stand on my faith and on my beliefs, and honesty is a big part of that. So I'm not going to do something that goes against the way I feel like I should live my life. So we're trying to do everything legally, everything above board, but the struggles, it's been a struggle.
Yeah. And not only are you doing that, you want to give back to the economy as well in Michigan, especially Michigan. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has said about how we're losing population in Michigan and we need more people here. But not only were you going to live here, you have a business. So you're paying taxes, you're contributing to the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what I find it crazy that you have children. So what happens if you do, worst case, get deported? I mean, your children, your American children, they could stay here and you could go, or what is the deal with that?
Come with us.
They're going to come with us. We'll figure it out. But the worst part is when we left Canada, the economy has doubled there. So the house we had is double the price. And that's not a joke. It is double the price. And we can't afford anything where we used to live. So we'd have to go a lot further to get anything for the money. And so we have lost a lot in this. And one of the stipulations in the A2 visa is your money at risk? Well, our money is definitely at risk because we just lost everything and now we're told go back. Now we will get the gains back from selling this house, but like I said, it's not enough to cover what we used to have there or where we used to live. Or what and how much we spent here and invested in here.
Well, I'm reading the comments. I'm on Locals right now for those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube elsewhere, but a lot of people are saying, contact your congressperson. And I think a lot of them are going to do this as well to try to help on your behalf. What else can you do? What is the lawyer saying? Anything?
Well,
he's saying his idea is to go back to Canada and try to fight it at the consulate in Toronto, like the American embassy. But then if we're told no, then
money.
Yeah, it's another large sum of money. But then if we get told no, what do? We can't come back to our house. We'd have to wait at least 6 months to be able to cross the border again.
And then also he said there's another option of reinvesting. And like, well, we can't reinvest.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of money.
And I don't want to sell my house and then try to buy something else here. It's just a nightmare. And then he also said we could fight it in court.
But he doesn't like the odds in court because it goes right back to California there as well.
So just brought up the 3 children, their dad is in the United States.
Yes.
Okay. So do they still see their dad, talk to their, I don't want to get personal.
That was one of the main reasons we moved here is because the custody, switching them back and forth was so incredibly difficult for 2 years.
Well, during COVID, they went almost 2 full months. They didn't even get to see their dad because the custody, they wouldn't allow us to do an exchange at the border until we finally were able to make an arrangement to do it where neither one of us could cross into the other country, but they could meet at the border and exchange in front of the agents.
I know.
So that's why enough's enough. We're not going to keep putting the kids through this nonsense. We're going to see what we can do to move.
Okay. So you're, I mean, good terms. They see their dad, that kind of thing. And this is only going to make that situation, because if they go back to Canada, if all of you go back to Canada, you can't easily just come back for a visit, probably, right?
We got to wait 6 months, and then we can go back to as if we're just visitors again. You know what I mean? But because of how long we've been here, we would have to stay in Canada for a minimum of 6 months.
Right.
Because we're Canadian, we have a special treaty with the United States. For a visitor pass, we're allowed to have 6 months in the United States.
If I were you, I'd be, after that 6 months, I'd still be scared as to what's going to happen at the border, because I wouldn't trust trust anybody. If I were you, I wouldn't trust anybody.
There are agents. I mean, I'm not saying all, because I have had really nice people at the border. We've had pretty good guys, but majority, I'd say, well, some don't care, and then some are nice, and then some are just really mean.
You tell when they're having a bad day. They're trying to take it out.
And then you have to risk that every time you cross. You're risking it. You know.
I'm going to bring up some of the comments in the chat. Someone just said, "Can you get a sponsor?" And you were saying when your child turned a certain age, that child could sponsor you then.
Well, my sister is American. She became an American when she married an American, and she could sponsor me, except for it's a 9 to 13 year wait as well.
A what?
A 9 to 13 year wait to be sponsored by somebody.
So let me just ask. Someone in the comments said this right here is when they say the immigration system and it's broken in the United States. Yeah, this is what they're talking about, probably.
Absolutely. I mean, how hard is it to say, here's my sister's American citizenship. Here's the proof I'm her sister. Oh, boom. Okay, good.
Well, that and the kids too.
Why does that take 9 to 13 years, And then, oh, here's my kids. They're American. I lived here, had a green card. Oh, okay. Like, how hard would that be? How much easier would that be to look at than this whole investment,
Yeah. I think your ex-husband is online in the chat, actually.
Yeah. Right.
Same last name. That's what I was wondering. So that's, yeah.
Because the border would give me a hard time. Are these your children? Yeah.
Yeah. So, my Lord, I don't know. So I guess, you could contact Congress people. I don't know, but getting this story. So if everyone's watching, share this video out. I'm going to give you two this link too. And you can put this out there. I'll put it out there. I don't know. I don't know. They always say, call your lawmakers, but who are your lawmakers, really?
Our congressman from our area, and then we also reached out to Merrill and talked to their congressman, and they attempted a little bit to help us out, but they said their hands are pretty well tied.
They can't reverse a decision, and they didn't really. I don't think they really understood the story.
No, that's why I'm going to say send them this video and for them to understand it, because they'll probably have questions like I did. And I'm sorry for taking a lot of your time, but I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about.
It's hard. Most people don't understand.
No, can you appeal that decision, that E2? Or
we already have.
We appealed it. The first denial was after a year, and then our second denial was just about 4 months ago. No, 2 months ago. No. Sorry.
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks
ago.
Yeah.
So this is a sad situation. In essence, you could sell that home, move back to Canada. Someone could buy that home, and you could have someone who had entered the country illegally from Mexico or whatever be living in your home or something. Totally fine.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So, yeah, you want to do it the right way. So, yeah, this shows right here, the system is totally messed up in every direction. How are you able to, you probably had some crying nights. I know I would, my wife would be. How are you staying strong?
Honestly, the support we've gotten here is incredible. Every one of our American friends is rooting us on. Just incredible support. My friend started to give send go. She's like, no, we're gonna fight this, and I'm like, okay. And then even our Canadian family is like, they're outraged, and they've been very, very supportive, and we know that no matter where we are, we're gonna be okay, because we have so many people that want to help. We have family that will, they'll be there for us if we go back, and we have family here that'll be there for us. If we need them. So that's really what has kept us, and our faith. We know God's got us, and wherever we're supposed to be, but we really want to be here.
Yeah, I just put in the comments. I just put the link in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to have the link there, because I'm assuming all of this. I know lawyers, $250, $300, $400 an hour. It's not cheap to try to fight this. Or no. You probably, I'm assuming, have legal bills already because of this.
We're
in debt. Yeah,
you could say that. Yeah. Well, that's why at this point, if we can't find another solution, then we don't really have another option. We can't afford to keep doing it. You can only go so far into the hole, but with not a sure yes, then it just doesn't make sense to keep digging that hole deeper.
And like you said, the economy, well, the way things are in Canada, as in here in the United States, the price of homes. I mean, if you do go back to Canada, you're going to need assistance because everything just shot up in price so much.
Right.
Pretty much, if we go back, we'll end up at my dad's house for the first little while until we can figure out what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We moved our company here. We haven't worked in Canada now for almost 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. So we're not even going to be able to mortgage anything.
I would suggest, I'm reading the comments. I used to work at the TV stations, and I wasn't happy with a lot of the coverage, but I would urge you to reach out to the media as well. I have a lot of people following me, and they'll probably see it, but I would urge you, reach out, or your friends, there's people watching, reach out to the media, because I think the more this is talked about, you would think if the federal government would just listen to you, take an hour to sit down with you, it would just be common sense.
Well, if you could talk to an actual person instead of, it's like they're just robots. They don't even have any personal connection to anything.
There's not even a name on the paper with the denial. You don't get an agent's name. You don't know who did it. It's the same person that does, like, when you appeal it, when we appealed the first denial, it goes back to the same person, and you're like, well, that's not fair. Let somebody else look at it. But no, it goes back to the same person. And if that person is biased in any way, maybe looked up his social media, maybe doesn't like, maybe doesn't like Christians, maybe doesn't like
it's pretty
us,
obvious I'm a Christian conservative if you see my social media.
Yeah, so and that's a speculation. Obviously, we don't know the person, but if we could sit down and talk to him. When I got my green card, we sat down in front of somebody and talked to them, and he approved my green card. That's what I was expecting this to be. But no, this goes to California, across the country, to somebody who doesn't know you,
Wow. Someone just said in the comments, Jordan, the government won't even take care of their own citizens. What makes you think they'll take care of others? Has this tarnished your opinion of the United States in a way?
No.
It's
not the United States. It's the ones in charge right now that I feel are the problem, right?
Like I said, the people here, awesome. Everybody we've met, we've just amazing people.
In a short period of time, we've been able to make some very close friends. It's going to be difficult to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to. Okay, well, I'm going to put the link out there. Anything, anyone, obviously we can pray, which we will. And I would urge you, contact the media. After this interview, send this interview out. Contact any media you can find, because the more that you tell your story, I think all it takes is for one congressperson, someone to see it and realize that this is BS, honestly. That's what I would recommend. Can people do anything else? Do you have anything else, donating to the Give, Send, Go, but anything else that people can do to help that you think of?
Emails, USCIS. We really don't know, to be honest with you.
Pray.
Yeah, prayer is the strongest
Lots of prayers,
part.
and I don't know, maybe just spread the story and, get it out there. And, I've heard that there is more of these stories. Our friend had told us that she heard of a couple, I think it was a German couple, that tried an E2 visa, I think. Don't quote me on the details, but they tried to open a laundromat here and they were sent home. And that would be like a big, that would be a really hard, because we can just drive 2.5 hours and we're home. They're in Germany. So it's happening to more than us, I think. And I think it needs to be addressed.
It doesn't make sense because presidents back in the day, Reagan, Bush, Democrat, Republican, they have all said that this country is about immigrants. My grandmother and grandfather came from Ireland, mm-hmm. and they all come from other countries to make this country a better place, to bring good people here who are willing to give back. That's the goal. And I know, Trump has said that. Biden, I don't know what he's saying, but others, that's the goal. And you embody what an immigrant is and what America stands for. That's why it just doesn't make sense to me when there's people like you want to do it legally, you want to get a job, you want to pay taxes. Well, you don't know if you want to pay taxes, but you would pay taxes. But then there's 5,000, 10,000 a day coming in illegally. It just doesn't make sense. And no matter who you are, Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Not at all.
God. Okay. Well, I'll send you this link, but I urge you and everyone who's watching as well, share this, send this out. Hopefully, cross our fingers, the right person will see it, and you got to get back with me and keep updated with me.
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. We're all saying a prayer for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Sure.